Hey friend, I hope you're having a good day. So today I'm going to go ahead and talk about three of my shots. But before then, I want to go ahead and talk to you guys about what happened this past week. So my last grandparent ended up passing away, and we ended up having actually to go to Corpus Christi for the funeral. So this is why I ended up, putting on my story that picture in the hotel room of Reggie eating from like the bowl that I usually have for them and everything. And we ended up going to the funeral, but I'm just gonna do like a moment of silence for my grandpa. And if you believe in an afterlife, I would really appreciate it if you prayed for him. So I'm gonna go ahead and put his name and the years that he was here on earth for you guys. And if you guys can just take a second and pray for him, that'd be awesome. But let's just go ahead and do a quick moment of silence. All right, thanks guys. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk about three shots today, and the shots that I have that I'm gonna go ahead and talk about. So the first one is gonna be corner conversations. This shot right here. So for this shot, it was actually pretty interesting because this is actually like outside of Soho, going on towards Times Square, that whole area. So I was doing street photography in this corner because that's usually what I do. whenever I'm doing street photography in these places, I'll stay at the corner, and then I'll see people, like especially at super busy areas, and I'll see people walk around, and I'm like people watching it at the same time doing street photography. It's just really interesting. I really like it. But what I ended up doing is that I was standing in the opposite corner from them, and whenever it was time for them to go, usually whenever I'm standing on these corners and taking pictures of people, people are usually walking whenever it's green, or whenever they see the walking sign, like the one that's right behind them right here. So whenever they see that, they go ahead and walk. And what caught my eye is that they didn't walk. They were just having a conversation on that corner. They had walked up to it, so they hadn't been there that long, but whenever they walked up to it, they were like talking, and they didn't even notice that it was time to go. So they just kept talking for like a good 30 seconds. And if in basically in NYC, 30 seconds at a stoplight or at an intersection is a really, really long time. So they ended up just waiting there, and they were deep in conversation. I just really like the genuine moment of the bustle of the whole city, and then they're just right there, just chilling and having a normal conversation, like they're not in one of the biggest cities in the world. And I thought it was pretty interesting, and that's how I ended up catching this shot. Anytime that you take a picture in NYC, it's really easy to catch depth, just because the city is so big. And anytime that you look through any of these streets, there's always like huge depth behind them. So it shows your subject right away. And that's what I really, really like about New York City, because your eyes go straight to the subject right away, because there's always such huge depth anywhere that you look, unless you're like pointing straight at a wall and you're basically signaling off your subject to one side or the other. If you're shooting just randomly on the street, you're gonna have depth regardless. So that's why it's really, really cool to shoot in New York City. But that's this shot. And for the next shot, it is called Traditionally Bavarian. So it was actually the day after. So I have already told you guys about going to Oktoberfest by accident at another video, but basically this was the next day. This was after that. So we weren't going to Oktoberfest that day, and I was just walking around through Munich, and a lot of people, especially whenever it's like the beginning days of Oktoberfest, they're dressed up as, traditionally Bavarian dresses, and, those really high knee socks, and just like those shorts, and super expensive traditional clothes. But so I ended up seeing them and taking pictures of people like this in so many places in Munich, and I still have a lot of photos to upload. But I found this one really interesting, just because it was also one of those times where it's there's another leading line because that seems to be a thing that I do for everything. But on the left side of the picture, there's a leading line that's actually leading towards a couple that is also dressed in traditionally Bavarian attire, and they're actually headed towards Oktoberfest. I'm pretty sure that in that direction was Oktoberfest, the Bavarian statue, which is where Oktoberfest is. And this other person that's on the right, I wanted that person to be my subject because she was like closer, and I didn't want to just take a picture of them like super far away. So it made it perfect for she to be on the right, and then I ended up capturing her on one side of the image, and then that line leading towards the couple on the other side, kind of like, drawing your eyes in two directions, and it worked. So this is this photo, and I really like it because it actually shows the whole like culture aspect whenever it comes to people don't wear this ever, like all the time. These dresses all the time. Obviously they're dressed modern and everything, but there is a culture that is heavily emphasized whenever Oktoberfest happens. Once Oktoberfest hits up, everybody dresses in Bavarian. Even people that are coming from other countries dress up in Bavarian, type of attire just to celebrate Oktoberfest. But that's this shot. Okay, and then for the next one, this one is called New Beginnings, and this was one of those shots that I was thinking about because of what happened, what I talked to you guys at the beginning of the video. My last grandparent passing away, so that's why I ended up looking for the shot, because I was looking through all of my photography shots on what I wanted to upload after I got back, basically, because whenever I was over there I would edit my stuff and everything, but I couldn't figure out the Wi-Fi for my computer, and it was just a lot of stress and everything, so I just didn't want to deal with it, so I didn't upload anything. But whenever I got back, I wanted to do something inspired by everything that happened last week, or this week. So what I ended up doing is I ended up, it's a cycle, it's like death and rebirth. So I ended up finding this picture that I ended up taking at St. Peter's Church in Hamburg. So the church itself is pretty big. It's not as big as Cologne Cathedral, but it's pretty big. Whenever you walk in, you can see everything. You can see like the glass. It looks like a normal like Gothic type of church, right? But you can actually go to the right, and then it leads you to like this little mini store where they have collectibles, not collectibles, souvenirs you can buy from the church and everything. But you can also pay €7, and I ended up seeing that. Whenever I saw that on a door, I was like, okay, what is this all about? So I ended up finding out that you could pay €7 and go all the way to the very top of the tower. So it was raining on and off that day, so I wanted to stay indoors a little more. So that's why I ended up being, okay, well, I'm going to stay here for a little bit and just, go up there and take pictures and see what I can find, see what I can see. And I ended up paying the €7, put my backpack up, and then I ended up going around, and it just takes you, I can't remember exactly how many feet, but I'll go ahead and put it somewhere around here so you guys see. But it's pretty high up. And then you go up different layers and different like levels, and you can see there's a level that has a whole bunch of portholes all around it. There's a level that has like very old type of equipment. I can't remember. I think there was a piano in there and stuff like that, but you can't go in there and touch it. You can just see it behind glass and stuff like that. But I ended up keeping going up, and then it starts spiraling closer and closer because the tower ends up closing. So it just closes up like this, and then near the very top there is this little hatch that you get into, and then you are basically in a small room. It's like pretty small. It's like maybe like 6 feet as wide, if that. And there's like several stools on there. I think there was only like 3 stools, and basically there's a whole bunch of portholes around it, kind of like on a ship, but on the side of this tower, and you can see out and about through the city. And in one of them you can actually see the Elbe River, which is like right there. And you can also see, what it's called, the Hamburg, I think it's like the city council. I'll go ahead and show you guys a picture around here somewhere, but it's like a government building. It's one of the government buildings there, but I did take a picture of it and everything. But the cool thing is that as soon as I got up there, I was taking pictures and trying to catch everything that I could, and I was also able to capture everything before it started raining like crazy, because all of a sudden it just started pouring. So the cool thing about that though is that whenever I experienced weather in Germany is that it's got a lot like Florida. I mean, obviously the weather's not the same at all because it's like way colder in Germany, but the clouds go by like super quick, so it'll rain for a little bit and then the clouds are gone, and it's so easy for people to just go under a ledge and everything because they're so used to it. They'll go under a ledge and they'll just wait for the rain to pass, and then they'll just go on their business like in 5 minutes. It's like really convenient. But so I ended up capturing as much as I could in that tower, but on that first section, I was whenever I came back down all the way to that first level, I ended up just sitting there because there was a whole bunch of benches all around, and with like regular sized windows. And one of those, I was just sitting there and I was using the ambient light to like take selfies and stuff like that on my camera. And I ended up seeing the bird's nest right there. I don't know what type of birds these are, but they're definitely not dead. I know the colors that I choose usually like look really depressing, especially for this one, but they're definitely not dead. They're alive. And I couldn't bring up the yellow just because it would have like overblown everything else. But they have like yellow hairs. I guess like their feathers starting to grow or whatnot. But yeah, they're definitely alive. And there you can see there's pigeon forks there and everything, trying to keep birds out and whatnot, but they ended up making a nest there anyways, and they ended up putting their little birds there, and I just thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, that's this shot, and I ended up having this as inspiration from this week. Not that I would want that inspiration, but that's just how I express myself sometimes, especially with my art form. It all comes down to how I feel at the time, and I just express what I feel. But yeah, that's this shot. This is New Beginnings, and I really appreciate you guys tuning in again. I try to make these as much as possible. I'm usually leading towards 2 or 3 of these videos a week, at explaining my shots and just showing you guys and trying to inspire you guys on different shots and stuff like that, and how I do my street photography, and hopefully it inspires you guys to do street photography as well. But I'll go ahead and catch you guys next time, and yeah, I really hope you guys have a good night.